up, guys? First Take Fantasy back here today. We got a new microphone. We got a new setup, new format for our YouTube videos. So everything new here at First Take. And we're here to deliver some new running back outlook. So Tyler, kick things off. We got the rookie running backs. I want you to tell me, who's your favorite rookie running back for this season, if you can stop rolling your neck.
Sorry, I just had some cracks to pop out. But, there's a lot of hype surrounding Clyde Edwards-Helaire, given that he was taken with the 32nd pick and he's in this Kansas City Chiefs offense. But I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor here because I think that his workload is more solidified in this Indianapolis Colts offense. I really like this offensive line that he's going to be running behind. I said it before the draft that if Jonathan Taylor had a perfect fit in the NFL, it would be with the Indianapolis Colts. So Frank Reich came out and said that Marlon Mack and him would be splitting touches, but I think that Taylor is just too talented of a running back to split touches along in the season and in the long term. So yeah, overall, I'm definitely looking for Jonathan Taylor. I think that he's at least an RB2 in pretty much all formats. I would go as far as saying in non-PPR formats, he's a low RB1. So
okay.
yeah, I'm definitely buying Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is probably my preferred pick in non-PPR leagues, but in half PPR and full PPR leagues, I'm definitely still going to go Clyde Edwards-Helaire because although the workload might be a little less in Jonathan Taylor early on in the year, I think once he fully gets into swing and he understands the Andy Reid offense, he's going to be an RB1 every single week because he's a great pass catcher. They love pass catching backs, and he's very hard to tackle, and he creates his own yards, which putting that in that Kansas City offense is just, it's insane. I mean, that offense is going to be incredible, and Clyde's probably going to get the most touches out of anybody in that offense. So if you can give me someone getting the most touches on the offense that's likely going to score the most points next to the best quarterback, I think it's a no-brainer. I'll take Clyde. I understand why someone would pick Jonathan Taylor because you want that more secure workload. I think he's the safer pick because running behind Quentin Nelson and being such a good downhill runner, I mean, it's going to be hard to stop Jonathan Taylor, and he's going to get the ball. He's better than Marlon Mack. But I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm an upside guy, and he's someone that just has a ton of upside this year. So I'll probably be taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire and taking that risk, whether it's the second or the third round. I like him a lot. So now outside of the top five running backs, so for the top five, you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, and Cam Akers. So those are the consensus top five that should get some run this year. Who outside of the top five are you viewing as a sleeper running back for this season?
I really like Anthony McFarland as a Steelers fan because I really
homer
love
pick.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, yeah, sell me on him.
Yeah, I wrote an article for Rising Football News about the Steelers draft picks, and one thing that I noted is that he brings this explosiveness into the Steelers offense that we haven't had in a long time out of the backfield. We had Antonio Brown, but he was on the outside. But, we haven't had a running back that's run 4.4-ish speeds since Rashard Mendenhall in the 2010s. And we saw that he was a solid fantasy running back for us then. So there's some questions about whether he can run in between the tackles. But with someone who's as explosive as he is, who can take a pitch from the outside and take it to the house on any given play, or take a screen pass to the house any given play. I just love that upside for him. I think that it's going to be difficult for the Steelers to not give him 8 to 10 touches a game just because of that home run ability that he does have. So yeah, I'm definitely buying Anthony McFarland this year and as a late round pick, possibly your last pick in the draft. And I'm looking for him even more in dynasty drafts.
Yeah, in dynasty drafts, we're in a dynasty league together, and we're targeting the crap out of Anthony McFarland because I love the upside, like you said, the home run ability. He really brings that on any given play. And James Conner is not a lock to be there from 2021 and beyond. So this could become Anthony McFarland's backfield, and he could be one of those home run guys. I mean, he's really explosive. I love the way he plays. And like you said, they haven't had that a long time in Pittsburgh. So seeing that kind of change to a more explosive running back, that could be really exciting and pay some dividends fantasy wise. So yeah, I like that Anthony McFarland pick. That's interesting. I have two guys that I want to label here. So right now one of the guys that I really like is Keyshawn Vaughn because he's not great at anything, but he does everything well, and that's better than Ronald Jones because Ronald Jones kind of lacks in some areas, and he's not necessarily the most explosive guy. He needs time to kind of get going, and he's not the most downhill runner. I think Keyshawn Vaughn kind of is what they need. I compared him to Chris Carson. We posted on our Instagram, and I think that's probably as close as of a player that I can comp Keyshawn Vaughn to. So if you get a downhill runner in this like spaced out Bucks offense with Bruce Arians, and Keyshawn Vaughn can also catch passes pretty well, I think Keyshawn Vaughn honestly could finish as a low end RB2 if he secures that like upside from there, secures that backfield from Ronald Jones this year. So if he's getting those 12 to 15 touches a game, I think you could see Keyshawn Vaughn put up some really good numbers, and he's not going to be drafted until like rounds 9 or 10 this year. So he's someone that I really like. And then another sleeper that I have is from Washington. We actually just got a report. Ron Rivera thinks Antonio Gibson has a CMC-like skill set. So I'm not saying that Antonio Gibson is going to be CMC or he's going to play the CMC role in this offense, but this Washington pass-catching back role is going to be big. So if you can get someone really late in drafts, because no one knows about Antonio Gibson yet, he's kind of just an unknown guy from Memphis. He went in the 3rd round, but if you can get that pass-catching back in PPR leagues, I think Gibson could finish with 50-plus catches this year, and you're getting him for pennies on the dollar. And he seems like the guy that Washington wanted to be in this backfield. So I think that's his floor. And you could be looking at someone that could post RB2 numbers in PPR leagues just off of pass catching volume. So he's another running back that I really like that's going later in drafts, not really being talked about that much. And so now I want to know who's one of the projected top 10 running backs that you think is going to bust this year, has the most bust potential.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now, and some notable names are Joe Mixon, and Dalvin Cook, but I'm going to go with Joe Mixon just because, this offensive line isn't really solidified yet. They're bringing back Jonah Williams, who tore his ACL in training camp last season, so this is basically going to be his rookie year. He was their 1st-round pick, I believe the 13th overall pick in 2018.
Alabama.
Out of Alabama, yeah. So, he's a talented tackle, but I don't think that he really solidifies this offensive line whatsoever. So I don't think that they're going to be running the ball per se as much, and he doesn't get a very large target share out of the backfield. And I think that they're going to be passing a lot this season. So, yeah, I'm not buying Joe Mixon as an RB1 again this season. So
yeah, Joe Mixon definitely scares me. I like what you said with the lack of pass catching volume, because last year with Zach Taylor, it was kind of this hype like, oh, he's going to target him how they used to target Gurley in Los Angeles because that's where Zach Taylor was before. And he didn't do that. And I think it was like a 9% target share for the running backs in Cincinnati last year. Like something like really piss poor that was just annoying as a Mixon owner last year because I was expecting all this volume in the passing game and whatnot. And with Joe Burrow coming in, yes, there might be some more dump-off passes, but Giovanni Bernard is still there, and they kind of like using him on 3rd downs. So I like that pick with Joe Mixon because right now he's being drafted as the RB7. That means he's going to be like a late 1st-round pick. I don't know if I love the upside there. There's players that I'd rather get. I don't know if he falls out of the top 20, but he definitely has the potential to. One player that I want to note is Dalvin Cook. So Dalvin Cook, yes, the talent is there. I think he's going to be a little bit worse this year because they don't have Stephon Diggs, so the field's going to be a little more compact in the box. And that scares me a lot because he is someone that really does thrive running inside and outside of tackles, but they get a lot of their yards going through the middle because they have a pretty solid line in the interior. They're not as strong by the tackle position. So Dalvin Cook, with his injury concern, and I think efficiency is going to go down a little bit. So with those two things together, I think he's one of the running backs that probably has the biggest chance of falling out of the top 20. None of these guys really should have that much bust potential because they are being drafted that high for a reason. They have high upside and high floors, but I think he's one of the riskier picks that you can take. Someone else is Derrick Henry in PPR leagues, but in half PPR and standard leagues, he's pretty safe. He's going to get 300 touches, and he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. So you can count on Derrick Henry to be solid, but I understand the bust potential in the PPR format. So on the flip side of that, I want to know which running back being drafted outside of the top 20 do you think can finish inside the top 10?
I think that you got to go with David Johnson here in Houston. We saw that Carlos Hyde got 250 plus touches last season, and a lot of that was coming from the rushing attempts because I think that he finished with about 10 catches last season in a 16 games. So, yeah, I think that David Johnson definitely adds a lot more in the passing game than Carlos Hyde does. I think that they're going to use him as a workhorse this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw upwards of 260, 270 touches and a bounce back season for David Johnson, coming into an offense that he just fits better in this offense than Cliff Kingsbury's spread out offense. I think that his lack of ability was overblown in Arizona. I think that it was just more of a lack of fit there. So I think that David Johnson's basically Carlos Hyde, but better at everything, in my opinion. So
You really sold me on that one.
Yeah. So I think that he can add another element to this offense out of the passing game and kind of just creep into he definitely has RB1 upside this season in Houston if they do give him the workload. So I'm buying David Johnson outside of the top 20. Give me him as my RB3.
Yeah, if I can get David Johnson as my RB3, I'd be ecstatic. I'd honestly be fine with him as my RB2 because he does have that upside every given week. And if he's going to be the goal line guy like Carlos Hyde was in this offense, if he's going to take that Carlos Hyde role and then just expand on it, then yeah, you're definitely looking at someone with RB1 potential because if you take Carlos Hyde and then you give him 50 catches instead of 10, then you're adding like 40 or 20 points in half PPR and PPR leagues. So yeah, the upside is there, even like if he's just posting the same numbers that Carlos Hyde did. But like you said, he's a better player than Carlos Hyde. So I'm totally in agreement with you here. I think David Johnson's being crazy undervalued right now. I'd take him honestly in round 3 and be totally fine with it. Yes, there's injury concern and people may think he's washed up, but if that back is fine and we hear he's healthy, Bill O'Brien made this trade. And in his head, he's probably thinking, "Ooh, I got a steal. I got the best running back in the league." So he got himself a toy for DeAndre Hopkins, and I think he's gonna use him. So it's not like he's gonna make this trade for no reason. Yes, they got a second round pick, whatever, but he has to know that was bad value unless David Johnson really comes out and shows a lot of people up. So I think, man, I hate Bill O'Brien, but this move from a running back completely downgraded the team, but from a running back standpoint, he upgraded. And I'm going to use that hate for Bill O'Brien and everything to my benefit, and I'm definitely going to be targeting David Johnson in most leagues because I just think the upside, like you said, it's really high, and you're not paying that much of a price for it. You're drafting him really at what his floor should be. So he's someone that I like a lot this year. I love that pick. David Johnson, get him in your drafts. He's really being slept on right now. So now moving forward from that, last year, my lottery ticket guy was Devin Singletary. It ended up paying dividends. So who do you think this year is a lottery ticket guy that you can get, say, outside of the top 30 or outside of the top 35 that could finish inside the top 20 this year, the top 25?
I think in PPR and half PPR formats, you got to go with Matt Breida in Miami because we saw with this new offensive coordinator that they brought in.
Jan Gailey, baby.
Yeah, he likes to target the running backs out of the backfield. So, yeah, I definitely like Matt Breida as the single receiving back in this offense. You know, you got Jordan Howard splitting touches with him in the rushing category, but there's a reason why Jordan Howard isn't in Chicago, and it's because he doesn't add anything in the pass catching format. So I think that Matt Breida is going to get a large load of the pass catching in this backfield. And he's good with his explosiveness. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field in Miami. So yeah, I'm definitely buying Matt Breida as someone who can finish as a top 24 back in half PPR and PPR formats because he adds a lot in the passing game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Matt Breida, I mean, he's the type of guy, he doesn't even need like those 20 touches a game. If you give him just 12, if like 6 of them are catches and 6 of them are rushes, he's probably going to break one rush for about 20 plus yards because he's just that fast and that explosive. So I think it's a perfect change of pace back to play with Jordan Howard. I'm really excited to see how this backfield turns out. I am a Patriots fan, but I do think this offense for the Dolphins got a lot better. And I think they're going to be pretty solid come like mid-season. So, yeah, I love Breda. Another player that I really like, I think he's being really undervalued right now just due to uncertainty in his backfield. So I'm talking about Leonard Fournette's backup, Raquel Armstead. So, yes, they brought in Chris Thompson, but if Leonard Fournette's gone, then you're looking at a 15-touch guy who's going pretty much undrafted right now. So if this stays the same and Fournette is still on the team come training camp when we're drafting for redraft, I'm going to be targeting Raquel Armstead because he's a fifth-round pick. He may not be the best player, but if he gets that volume is king for depth pieces in fantasy football. So if you can get 15 touches at an undrafted cost, you just do it and hope for the best. Because if he turns out to be a good player, you might have yourself an RB2. If he doesn't, and he's just getting a lot of volume, then you have a solid bench piece that you can probably use to trade and package for somebody else. So he's just someone that's going to deliver good value later in drafts. And I like him a lot. So moving on from lottery ticket guys, who do you think is going to be like a mid-season breakout? Primarily from the rookie position, but it can happen elsewhere too. Who do you think is going to be like like 2 years ago, Nick Chubb, when Carlos Hyde got traded, he went crazy for like 6 weeks. So who do you think is going to be that guy in 2020 if we have one?
I would say Clyde Edwards-Helaire because I do think that he does.
Yeah, he's going too early though. Like, give me some dig deep.
I like Keyshawn Vaughn as well, just because I don't think that he gets the workload early on. I like Antonio Gibson as well, just because.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I love Gibson this year. I love Gibson. I think he's a really good value this year. I agree. So anybody else?
J.K. Dobbins is interesting because
you took the words right out of my mouth. That's crazy.
Yeah. Mark Ingram.
Tell me on Dobbins.
Mark Ingram is there, and he should get a pretty good workload in that offense. But I think that J.K. Dobbins is just too talented to keep off the field. And when he got fresh legs like he is, like I think that he stayed under 800 touches in college. You got to take advantage of that. And I don't think that the Ravens took him in the second round for no reason. So, yeah, I definitely like J.K. Dobbins this year.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins was going to be my answer. It's just his ability, like he was such a good one-cut runner at Ohio State, and his ability to get downhill and really punish the defense kind of reminds me of a Mark Ingram, like a young Mark Ingram. And I think he might have that same young Mark Ingram like role in this offense. I think he's going to get like upwards of 150 touches, and they'll probably be coming later on in the year because Mark Ingram, we saw it last year with his calf. Like he can kind of start to wear down at this point in his career because what is he, like 30 years old, I think?
I think he's 30, 31.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want to play Gus Edwards and Justice Hill and take away from J.K. Dobbins, then I guess that's your preference as the Ravens offensive coordinator. But you take a second rounder to use him, and like J.K. Dobbins, you wanted him on the Steelers before the draft because he's so good. I mean, he's such a good player, and he's such a good downhill runner. He's not Jonathan Taylor, but he's more versatile. He can catch passes. He can take an outside zone run. He's really good. And next to Lamar Jackson behind this offensive line, it's just like it's literally a match made in heaven. I think it could honestly be an upgraded version of Nick Chubb because if anything were to happen to Mark Ingram, whether he's traded, gets injured, or something like that, which are two big possibilities, I think J.K. Dobbins could end up being, at least for the last 8 games of the year, like a guy who would be on pace for 200-plus touches. He won't finish with 200-plus touches, but like he'll be on that pace, and that's really important down the stretch in fantasy leagues. So, yeah, I love J.K. Dobbins this year later on. He's someone that I'd probably be looking to buy if the owner gets frustrated that they're not getting the production they want. But I don't know what his draft price is going to be. In our Dynasty League, he went in like the 3rd round or something, which was crazy. Yeah. That's a little bit overpriced, but I think he's in redraft formats, I think he's going to be a steal, especially if you can trade for him later in the year and not pay for whatever his draft capital is going to be. But even if you do draft him, just remain patient with him. He's going to be a really good running back. I'll go as far as labeling him as Nick Chubb 2.0. I think he's going to have a huge breakout by midseason, someone that I really love. And just to wrap things up, who is the must-have running back for you for 2020? So talking from like the best value, the player who will outperform their value the most in 2020.
I think my guy last year was Tevin Coleman, and obviously that didn't work out so well, given that there were some injuries that came around, and it was just the format that the 49ers handled their backfield.
Yeah,
So
that got ugly quick. And
yeah,
Raheem Mostert carried me. He carried me to a championship. But yeah, that was an
yeah.
ugly
There was a
backfield.
point. There was a point in the season where I thought that Tevin. There was a point in the season where I thought Tevin Coleman was my worst running back, and then there was a point where I thought that he was my best running back, and it
That's what
was right
happens when you have
after.
Le'Veon Bell on your team.
Yeah, it is
You
what
can't
it
do that to
is.
yourself. It
But
is what it is.
um, one guy that I do really, really like is Melvin Gordon in Denver. He's going as running back 19 right now. I think that I think I'm going to rank him in my top 12 this upcoming season, just because I love that the Broncos went out there and got him, and I think that they're paying him $8 million a year to make him the guy in this backfield. And along with that, I'm always buying a Mike Munchak offensive line. They went and added more to this offensive line. They added the center from LSU. I think it's Cushenberry.
Yeah, Cushionberry, and they got a guard slash center from Detroit. I think Graham Glasgow. So yeah, they added some beef up front. And they get Jawan James back. It's going to be an improved offensive line. They're going to be solid.
Yeah, definitely. And it's along with that, it's a very young offensive line. They have Garrett Bowles, who they drafted a couple years ago.
Oh, he
Um,
sucks. But we won't get into Garrett Bowles. He got
uh,
like four. He got like four holding penalties in one half. But anyways, so Melvin Gordon's your guy.
you know what? They're young, okay? You can't give up on them early. So,
Well, they declined his fifth year, so.
I thought that was the other guy. All right, whatever. So yeah, I'm definitely buying Melvin Gordon as an RB1 this season. He's going probably in your late third, somewhere in the fourth round as an RB19. So yeah, I'm not really worried about Philip Lindsay. I think that he maybe gets 8 to 10 touches in this backfield. Royce Freeman, I don't know what he's still doing on this team. He should
The
be
fact
gone
that
by.
they didn't trade him is probably the only reason I didn't have him as my guy, because like I love Melvin Gordon also. I think he's a very talented player, and this is going to be the best O-line he plays behind. Probably the best run scheme he plays behind, because the Chargers, they don't really allow you to get that many yards per carry because their offensive line has been so terrible the past few years, unless you're Austin Eckler, who's just an anomaly. But anyways, yeah, the only reason I don't have Melvin Gordon here is because Royce Freeman is still there, so they're unwilling. It's like he's gonna be like the Devontae Booker of years past. Like he's just gonna like sit there and take like 4 to 5 touches a game and score like
For
4
no
touchdowns on
reason.
the year. But it's gonna be so frustrating, and that is just something that maybe I think Melvin Gordon finishes as RB 15 instead of RB 12, because Royce Freeman takes like 18 points from him. But it's really small what I think he'll end up taking. But anyways, yeah, Melvin Gordon, I love that pick. We both agree on that. Melvin Gordon's a very good value this year. Don't be scared of Philip Lindsay. Trust Pat Shermer using a workhorse. They got him when they didn't even need him. He's going to produce. So my guy for 2020, you know this. I've spoken about him before on IGTV. It's Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is being drafted as RB9 right now. I'd go as
Something
far
like that.
I'd go as far as saying I think this year he's going to creep into that upper echelon of like top tier running backs. Right now in my RB rankings, I have him as RB4, and I'm worried I'm a little too low on him because he's going to get all the work in this offense. And last year he was playing with a broken shoulder, and this offense had no spacing. Last year it was Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and then
Terrell Williams.
one leg of Tyrell Williams and whoever the hell else was on the other side. So this year they added Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards, Lynn Bowden Jr., Nelson Aguilar. They got the corpse of Jason Witten to go along with it. That's cool. So they have players that can really add receiving threats so they can help space the box for Josh Jacobs. And you can tell me they got all these weapons to space things out and Derek Carr is going to bomb it downfield, but I don't even know if he's really going to throw it that much because he loves to throw the slant route and like just go for like 5 yards per attempt. So I think Josh Jacobs, it's really, they did all this to benefit him because they have this franchise running back that can do so much in the running game, do so much in the passing game behind this offensive line. So I think it's just that he's just there. They're the new pieces are just there to space things out, and he's going to get all of the work in this offense. I think he could finish with 300 touches maybe, and I'm locking him in as like a top tier RB1. I love Josh Jacobs this year. I could not be any higher on him. Or actually, I could put him at RB1, but I won't do that over CMC and Barkley. But I think he's right there with Zeke. I mean, I love Josh Jacobs this year. I think the sky's the limit for him. And as RB9, he's going drafted like what, early second round. I'd be fine taking him if I have like the 8th or 9th pick in the first round. I'd take him there. Secure him early. He's going to be an RB1 this year. He's going to break out again. He's going to become a star. And I don't think he's being talked about enough. I think Josh Jacobs deserves more credit because last year was his rookie year, and it was a good situation, but it wasn't most favorable. And there's just so many things pointing in the right direction for him. I don't understand how guys like Nick Chubb are being drafted ahead of him. Like, there's like, give me 3 reasons why Josh Jacobs won't finish top 5 this year.
That's tough because like DeAndre Washington's out of there. I think that he could add more in the passing game. So like I'm right there with you. I think I ranked him 6th behind maybe Dalvin Cook. I might have put him ahead, but I have him like right around there in the 5 or 6 range, just because there's the elites, and then I have him right outside of I think Derrick Henry, maybe Dalvin Cook. But yeah, I'm definitely buying Josh Jacobs. I certainly don't disagree with you. But yeah, I can't really tell you why he won't finish in the top 5. Maybe given injury concerns, but that's really it. But like, there's injury concerns with every player in the NFL. So like, yeah, I'm not really avoiding Josh Jacobs because of his injury concerns, because I don't think that they're substantial enough to be actually worried about it.
Yeah, like, whatever his concerns might be, I think they're overblown. So like, looking at the guys ahead of him, so I'm gonna go Nick Chubb ahead of him. So Josh Jacobs question marks, we really think it's like minimal injury concern. So I don't really see question marks with Josh Jacobs right now. I just see second-year player, plays for a not sexy offense. That's his only question marks. So ahead of him, you have Nick Chubb, question mark, new offense, probably benefits him. But you have Kareem Hunt, who's a very talented running back, so he's going to eat into whatever Chubb's workload is. So that's a big question mark. I'll move Jacobs ahead of him. Joe Mixon, he plays for the Bengals. I'll move Josh Jacobs ahead of him. Derrick Henry, lack of passing work, like in half PPR and full PPR leagues, I'll move Jacobs ahead of him. Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray's still there. Taysom Hill gets touches in the red zone. Manuel Sanders, Michael Thomas, Jared Cook, Adam Troutman. There's other people that can score and get yards in this offense. Not everything has to go through him. So I'll move Josh Jacobs ahead of him. Now, Dalvin Cook. This is pretty close, but I think Cook, with the injury concern, along with the offense just getting worse as a whole, give me Josh Jacobs. So I think right now, Josh Jacobs is RB4. It may sound crazy, but when you really break it down, it makes a lot of sense. He has the least question marks out of any of those guys. And the only thing that's keeping him from moving forward is just how good Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and Ezekiel Elliott are and how consistent they are. So Josh Jacobs, I mean, I can't say enough about him. I could talk for 50 minutes about Josh Jacobs. I apologize for taking so much of your time already. But I love this guy for 2020, and he's for me, the must-have player. You cannot leave your draft without Josh Jacobs because he's going to kill it. He's the best value. I think he's going late or mid-second round, early second round, and I think next year he's going to be talked about as a top 4 pick. So Josh Jacobs, lock him in, get him in your drafts, must have.